when I first heard house music, I didn't really get it, because to me it sounded really, and I didn't understand raw at the time. In the 80s, music was really overproduced and it sounded really polished all the time. So when I heard this raw house music, I was just like, it just sounds like somebody's demo in their basement.
See, but that was the opposite for me.
I didn't get that,
That was the total
until I heard
opposite.
it in a club, until I was old enough to go in a club and hear it, and then I was like, ah, okay, I didn't really get it. To me, it was just underproduced.
Sound like demos.
It just sounded like demos that were like, you know, pressed to vinyl by amateurs that were giving it to their friends to play. I didn't get it. And then, but then there were a few records that were sort of beyond that, you know, really helped make it clear for me. You know, Lil Louis and 808 Stayed, which is not really house music, but I mean, you remember around that time.
Yeah, we rocked
You know,
this
we still rock that. You
fell
know,
in the house
Pacific. You know,
Pacific 808.
you know, Inner City really changed my world. And then I started to discover, you know, things that were, you know, considered classics, you know, prior to around 1987 when I got into it. You know, because there was stuff before that was still called house music experimentation.
Well, the label's named after a record I did on vinyl piece, which was called Mixed Signals. So I always liked that name, and so I decided to use that for the label. Started that in 2004, and then I guess you were off my radar until you did that Robert Owens thing.
Right.
And then I was like, I should contact Romain, see if he wants to do some stuff for the label. So right now we have him remixing a track off of Alton's album, Alton Miller. So we're starting to gravitate more towards putting out albums instead of like singles. So interesting projects on the go, like King Sunshine. We're talking to them about putting more of their music out. They're a 10-piece live band for that. Just getting more projects on.
I grew up on classic electronic music and Brazilian and Isaac Hayes and, you know, that kind of stuff. Stevie Wonder, huge Stevie Wonder fan, probably my biggest influence if I had to pick one. Jean-Michel Jarre for the synthesizers, you know, since Heroes from the 70s and early 80s. Growing up in France where that stuff is really, you know, accepted and mainstream. Roy Davis took me to like Saukville, Illinois, and all these places, Naperville, and all these places where like house music started. Like before it was like really like in Chicago, it was in these suburbs. People were walking around with bathrobes, and these pool parties going, "Are you house?" You know what I mean?
Are you house?
Early, you know, 485. You know what I mean? And like to think about house music in Chicago. Like it was as mainstream for the general population to hear about house music in Chicago in the mid '80s as it is to hear like hip hop blaring out of car stereos today. There were all these mix shows on commercial radio for house music, you know, the Hot Mix 5 and all that stuff. Party. All that stuff, man. It's just, you know, it's amazing that, you know, you could and remember Hip House?
Yeah.
I worked with Brian
Tyree, Fast Eddie.
Yeah, I worked with Brian Harden, who used to be in one of those bands. You remember Brian Harden on Peace Frog?
Very hot time when, you know, when the house, because when the house came to New York, we were in sort of a flux. We were coming out of this sort of electro breakdance era.
Mantronic.
So we were listening to like sort of what we call Latin freestyle, which ironically, that's what Louis was doing just before he crossed over the house. So he was mixing groups like Cover Girls, like Show Me, Show Me, Show Me, You Love Me. It's a free form style of music that doesn't have any.
Yeah, I mean, house music encompasses jazz, funk, soul, disco, like everything, like church music, you know, like, you know, if you can't find a style of house music that you like, maybe you haven't searched hard enough, because, I mean, there's everything from 110 BPM house music to 135 BPM house. There was an element to house music that seemed very exciting to me, and that was that, you know, like I said earlier, it was very accepting to all genres, and it was as well accepting to all races, all sexualities. There was just an openness to the style, to the people that were attending these events. You know, people, like I said, let their attitude, you know, stay at the door. There were people who, you know, were not accepted in any other scene that found a home in house music. And
it kept people off the streets.
That's right.
Getting into crime. There's been talent in Toronto, like hidden talent, for as long as I've been coming out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Seriously, like, it's here, but you just kind of
a few guys like Nick that travel. Dino Terry traveled back in the day.
Dino Terry, wow, yeah.
Holder did too.
Nick Holder waved the flag for Toronto, you know, like front row, but they're out there making it and doing it, you know, so.
This is Stefan Vera from Toronto, Canada. Let there be house.